Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Dylan Silver, and today on the show I have private lender out of the Pensacola, Florida area, Blake Selby. Blake, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on. Absolute pleasure.
It's a
Looking
pleasure
forward to this.
Pleasure to have you, Blake. I always like to start off by asking folks how they got into the real estate space.
Yeah, my journey wasn't that dissimilar to a lot of guys, starting out with like rental real estate flips, just kind of taking a shotgun approach to everything. I scaled pretty quickly, maybe even recklessly when about 10 years ago. I remember that probably within the first year and a half, I think I was at like 80 units. So, that's a little bit more aggressive than I would recommend somebody do. But it was a great way for me to start seeing patterns. When you're at scale, you start noticing patterns. So that was kind of the thing that helped me. And gosh, that's been like 10 years ago. That's crazy to think about. I feel old.
Was that Midwest that you had these 80 units?
Yeah, Iowa, Illinois for the main brunt of them. And then I started scaling out after that and went to some other areas. But yeah, that was definitely an interesting place to have them. It's more of a cash flow area. They definitely appreciate in that area too, but it's not like Vegas or California or Florida or something where the appreciation like skyrockets. It doesn't really do that there as much. It's more of a kind of an even keel market, but you can still appreciate. For me, it was more forced appreciation that kind of helped me out. So
these markets, Iowa, Illinois, of course, you've got Chicago, but some of these other markets, which people may not immediately think about, there's still tremendous opportunities to cash flow. And I think a lot of the strategies, which may be more difficult in other markets, are still very viable in those areas.
Oh yeah, you can cash flow in an appreciation market. You can appreciate in a cash flow market. You just have to force it. And like I always say, a really strong person can even make a bad plan work. So
that's true. I'm gonna steal that line. A really strong person can make a bad plan work. How did you get down to Pensacola? Did you say enough of this cold?
Pretty much. Yeah, I actually just moved down here in January. So I was in the Midwest for all my life. This is the first time I've lived anywhere besides the Midwest. And I moved down here in January. I've got some family here, and I've really been. I'll tell you what, getting out of the Midwest winter was pretty nice for the first time. But it's nice to be able to walk around most of the year, and I get to a little hotter in the summers. And I still have yet to experience my first July and August in Florida. But for the time being, it's habitable.
I tend to think that there's a lot of real estate magic that's happening in Florida specifically. I feel like I've had so many guests on the show talk to me about moving from these Wisconsin, Oregon, where else? Detroit area. And I'm thinking, man, these are not the warmest places, but then they go down to Florida. And I'm like, man, there's some magic because of course, you see Fort Lauderdale, Miami. I mentioned before hopping on here that I'm thinking about moving to St. Petersburg because a guest on the show talked to me about it. And then
Oh
you're
yeah.
over in Pensacola, and I'm thinking, man, there's so many, enthusiastic, passionate real estate entrepreneurs out there in Florida. And I'm not in a bad market by any standard. I'm in Dallas, right? One of the better markets for single and multifamily, but even still, I'm thinking like, man, it would be nice to have a beach close by or something.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Yeah, that's a blessing. Having a beach, 10, 12 minutes away is a really nice thing. And, I don't take advantage of it as often as I should. But especially when I first got here, I was going there almost every day. But yeah, I mean, you kind of get spoiled after a period of time, it seems. That's what I'm
You know,
falling into. But
with that though, it's kind of like having a pool in your backyard. Just because you're not
right,
using the pool every day, it's like the pool's right there. Like you walk home and you're like,
exactly.
I've got a pool. So it's like you got the
Yeah.
beach. Are you still very involved in lending out there in Iowa and Illinois?
Yeah, I'm doing a lot more like the flip partnerships, like joint ventures and equity partnerships. I'm trying to get away from the actual just like regular lending.
Okay.
So I haven't been, I still have some, mortgages and loans and things on my books. But I'm really enjoying like the partnering aspect, and I can do a little bit more to help move the needle for my clients. I can help vision shape a bit. I can help them avoid mistakes. I can help them figure out what they should be doing. So, for my people, it's like I don't just set it and forget it. I mean, I'm on calls with them, every couple weeks trying to check in with them, see, hey, what do you need from me? Do you need any advice? Do you need to get hooked up with the right person to do dispo on this house? Like, what's the situation? So, I even, if they're needing it, I'll even help them get discounts on materials and stuff using my accounts or whatever. So I do a lot more than like a typical like lender would do. I'm more in the joint venture / equity partnership space. But yeah, that's I do it in the Midwest a lot still. But yeah, I'm definitely in a lot of, I think we're in like 15, 16 states right now with
Mm.
active deals. So I'm not opposed to going to new states. I just, again, I go where I'm sort of getting the requests, right? So if people from California, like I've done one deal in California only, not because I wouldn't, I just only got, one
Yeah.
request. So
How much of your business is those two states you mentioned, like Iowa, Illinois, and you mentioned, 13 others, and how much of it is where you're at right now, Pensacola area?
yeah, I'd say Pensacola is probably less than 5% of the business right now. I would say Iowa, Illinois is probably like 20, 30% of the business. And then the rest of it's just scattered among pretty evenly other states. I have stuff in Ohio. I've got stuff out in North Carolina. I've got, there's definitely a good bit of, which I actually prefer. I would prefer to not have all my eggs in one basket. I've got a
Yeah.
subdivision I'm developing in Michigan right now. We just finished we're finishing our fifth house right now. These are all like executive lots, and putting up like $500,000 houses up there in northern Michigan near Traverse City, which is actually where I grew up. So yeah, there's a lot going on, and it's definitely not centralized. It used to be centralized in one area. I've got two employees that are back in Iowa, Illinois area, Quad Cities. One's in Illinois side, one's in Iowa side. Then I've got one that doesn't live in there, but yeah, it's definitely a good, a good solid area to be in. I'm glad that I was able to build the business there because of the market the way it is. The cash flowing back in 2015 to now has been pretty good. I would say it's the market has become less relevant to me in the last 4 years. Yeah, I've still done deals there. I mean, it's I would say I've got probably 20 active things there.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
I want to talk about partnering and, doing a joint venture versus lending. So this is a very niche, I would say, very niche strategy. And maybe it's not so niche to you because you're in it. You say, I know a lot of people who do this, but I'm a wholesaler. I'm passionate about wholesale. I'm also a licensed real estate agent in Dallas. And I think a lot of people kind of when they graduate from fix and flipping or from doing the rentals themselves will go into lending, but you're still staying involved because you said, the lending isn't so much my avatar. I'm really more of a joint venture. I'm trying to do more of that. Why did you pick that versus, maybe be more hands off and be a lender strictly?
Yeah, so you're exactly right. Like I scaled up to a whole bunch of houses and stuff. And basically in 2020, 2021, I sold a bunch of them off and then I had some money to lend out. So in 2021, I was going just gangbusters on the actual lending side. Like I was doing that real hard. And what I found was I didn't enjoy the foreclosure risk associated because it could take over a year to get your money back on those. Yeah, you still get paid back, but it's I didn't have very many of them, but there were a lot that I avoided because I know how to structure deals and be creative. But I didn't love the foreclosure risk, and honestly, I kind of like being more involved. I like doing the vision shaping. I like working with my clients and helping them. And honestly, I think that they can move faster if they have somebody experienced like me in their corner giving them advice. Yeah. It's like if we can churn and burn the same money, multiple times throughout the year instead of like taking forever on the same, then your annualized return just multiplies. So I don't even need to charge that much as long as I can get them to move a little quicker and get things done in a timely fashion. It's like, if I can make 10 grand on 100 grand, we can bang that out in 4 or 5 months. I mean, that works for me. I mean, I'm not looking to take half their profit or anything like that. I'm giving them most of the upside. So it's really, it's a win-win for them because they don't have to deal with the red tape. I don't require appraisals. I'm not doing the monthly payments. I don't require any of that stuff, So with me, it's a simple deal. I have a little more control than I would as a lender, but also if you're smart, you would want a guy like me to have some more control because I'm going to make sure it doesn't fail,
That's a really interesting strategy, especially as someone who's looking for capital, right? So if I'm looking for capital, frankly, you're probably looking first for a partner like yourself to come in on that front versus, just strictly going with a hard money lender, for lack of a better word, because, you're like you mentioned, there's appraisals. You don't also have the guidance. You're more hands-on in that sense. So I'm sure there's probably a lot of people who are looking for someone to partner with, and you're probably, one of a few options that they have. Did you come up, I don't want to say like you invented this, and maybe you did. Mm-hmm. Did you come up with this strategy on your own? Were you seeing other people looking for partnerships with flippers, and you said, yeah, that's kind of a better idea than lending?
No, I definitely didn't come up with it. There's a lot of people that do joint venturing and equity partnerships. They've been around, for a long time. I think it's a smaller subset of people that are, funding deals that are doing it that way. I think a lot of people that are in the lending space, they don't want to really be involved. They kind of want to just set it and forget it. And I'm not that way. I actually enjoy this. So I like to be involved and try to help things along. I was just on the phone. I've got a couple of properties, talk about some weird states. I've got a property up in North Dakota and one in South Dakota that I'm helping the same guy on. We're doing two at the same time. One's a duplex and one's a single family home. And, I'm walking him through. He's kind of in that phase where the properties, really aren't moving for him. And he's trying to figure out how much work do I need to do to these to make them pretty? How much should I put into them? Should I do price reductions? And I always tell people, look, it's going to be like a price problem or a promotion problem 90% of the time, right? It's one of those two. He's got it listed on the MLS, both of them. and, we've reduced the price, but they're not moving. And so I'm telling them, like, look, obviously the day's on market right now. The market's softening nationwide. If you just Google real estate market, you'll find 100 articles saying that. And so, for him, I'm like, hey, what have you done to like make the outsides a little bit better? Have we tried staging? Have we done, all these little tiny, pieces of advice that seem common sense to an experienced guy, but to somebody who's a little bit newer, it's like, look, man, get some bags of mulch, throw them around the outside, like do a little touch-up painting on the outside, take some better photos of the outside, like get some staging in there. If there's a awkward bedroom that's like doesn't look like it should be a bedroom, like throw some furniture in there, make it look, because people they don't have good imaginations. A lot of buyers don't. They want to see things that are more turnkey, and the turnkey stuff is what's still selling, stuff that can pass. And then it's like, what's your buyer pool? Like, are you selling to FHA people? Like, is your house, can it even qualify for that? Or if it can't qualify, then you're pretty much stuck with, even if some of the houses that I've seen can't even qualify for conventional. So it's like, you're pretty much stuck with investor buyers, for these things. So you're going to have to, if you don't want to fix anything, you're going to be stuck with a tiny little buyer pool. And it might be better to fix stuff because then you have more options to
much
sell.
larger buy pool. I think this idea, of being a partner with people in this space.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of people who are looking for this type of partnership, specifically newer investors. How do they find someone like yourself? I think it's kind of, I don't want to say that it's super rare, but it's rare to me, probably less rare to you. But I think there's a lot of newer, flippers who are like, I need to partner with somebody, and they may be going to, their local RIA. They may or may not have success. How does someone find someone, like yourself?
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Yeah, doing what you just said. I mean, going to organic meetups. I mean, going on like Facebook groups or, social media. That's a great way. Be careful because there's a lot of guys that aren't really doing it. They say they are, but they don't actually have money. They're like middle people, which is fine, but it's like you just run a higher scam risk,
for sure.
You don't want to, I will say this, if anybody asks you for money, like I don't ask people for money. Like, I don't need your money. Like it should be going to a title company, right? Or something like that. Like if anybody like asks you for like upfront funds, like super check them out because that's a really quick way to get scammed. Like I'm the one, you're coming to me for money. Why am I asking you for money? You know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of strange,
It is. That would be something to look. I mean, this is again, Blake, it's new to me, this idea, because, outside of this podcast, I'm working with a couple investors, and we're looking at, how do we maybe get a hard money loan? These are new flippers, and I'm a new realtor. And so it really never occurred to us that we might have the opportunity to potentially, do a JV with a more experienced flipper. And because that to me was like, well, why would they choose us? So I would ask you that too. It maybe seems like more of a headache to sometimes be involved in these deals. So how are you selecting your partners?
Yeah, so I mean, the biggest thing is I need somebody who's got the time. So like, who's my ideal partner, right? Is it the guy who's like doing like 30 flips a month? Probably not, honestly, because they're so entrenched in what they're doing, they can't give enough attention to this deal, right? I actually find more success with people who have smaller amounts of things going on because they can give more attention to the thing that we're doing. And so at least to start, and then once I can they're more coachable too. I feel like guys get a chip on their shoulder when they've done a bunch of deals, and then they don't think that my advice is valuable or something because they're like, oh, I've already done a bunch of this, and so once I can coach somebody how to do one or two deals, then like, look, maybe I'll bankroll them on like 3 of them at a time or something. You know what I mean? We've done that a handful of times. So it's, or maybe they like doing one at a time, but I certainly think I have more success with people who have a little bit less in the pipeline that aren't necessarily doing like 20, 30 deals a month or something. I think those guys probably are either they already know enough or they don't know enough, but they're not going to take my advice. So,
It's interesting, I think a lot of, I'm speaking for myself, but I think a lot of people listening will feel the same way. When you're just starting out, you have to think, well, what do I have to offer? Well, you just alluded to it. You've got kind of economy of time and your
time.
attention is focused on one thing versus you mentioned like 30, right? So more malleable, you've got the time, you've got focused attention. These are actually valuable for folks listening and to myself selfishly, these are valuable to investors.
Right. Yeah, it's time capital, and that's something that I don't have. So you're providing me with boots on the ground. I can't be in, 15 states at once, managing contractors and job sites. I'd probably have an aneurysm if I tried. And so it's like, going and doing all these multiple deals at once. I need to be doing, 50 to 100 of these things at any given time, like on my books. And so for me to, deploy enough capital in one market is probably not likely. And then if I have them in all these multiple markets, I can't be omnipotent. I can't be everywhere at once. So I kind of have to partner up with people that are doing what they're doing. Because I love single family homes. I love like smaller, multi like duplexes and stuff. I'll do other stuff too. It's just not as common. Like sometimes I'll do land and sometimes I'll do commercial strip malls and stuff, but I don't really do those as often these days. It's like single family is pretty much my bread and butter and single family flips. I'm not a huge buy and hold person. You could use me to acquire the property, but I like shorter, turnaround stuff. Like let's do a round trip on something and like actually make some real money.
I want to pivot a bit here, Blake, and talk about
Yeah.
scaling a business remotely. So you
Hmm.
have your business is in multiple states,
Yeah.
uh, and I think a lot of people kind of dream of this, right? But it may be
Hmm.
not necessarily self-explanatory. And so, how did you end up scaling the business remotely? Was it very organic? Was it intentional that you were going to do it this way? How did you scale the business?
No, it definitely wasn't intentional. Like I had an office building with cubicles and everything back in Davenport, Iowa, for years. I mean, I started this in 2015, and then, really we had that office until 2024. So for about 9 years, I had a physical office. At one time, I had two offices. I had one in Peoria, Illinois. I at one time back in late 2022, I had also a large property management company that I owned. And so that, we had like 11 employees, working and doing work. So some of them were virtual, but a lot of them were in person. And so I was opposite of remote, back then. And in just a few, 3 years or whatever, we shed the management company or sold it. And then, the employees count went down, went from like 11 to 3. Plus me. But basically, now that we were that lean and mean, we really started becoming less centralized. Like we were spreading out into other states. We weren't really all in Iowa, Illinois. And it got to a point where, it's just sort of naturally, it's like, why do I have to be here again? Like there's no, it's like, why am I not down in Florida? And then like, I asked the employees, I was like, do you guys like want to work in the office or do you want to work remote? And they're like, oh, we want to work remote. That's great. You know what I mean? And so that, I think they enjoyed being able to work from home and still do. So, and that's kind of where things are going, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it seems like since the pandemic, a lot of people are going remote. And, it sure is nice not having to have office rent and, separate office utilities, Wi-Fi, blah, blah, blah. It saves some money. And I think it actually allows me to have more flexibility with the employees. Like I know they're probably not working every single hour that I pay them for, but they're probably, goofing off a little bit, but it allows me to not worry about it so much. It's like, yeah, they probably are, but then I also don't have to pay like office rent and stuff. So it kind of offsets it. So the employee gets a relaxed job where they have a lot of flexibility and can take time off when needed. And then I don't have to sit there and micromanage them and feel bad about not getting every value out of every hour that I'm paying them for. So
I think, for the remote lifestyle, the building a remote business, you kind of hit the nails on the head as far as the logistical steps,
hmm.
from scaling down to, you don't need a dedicated office space to then understanding that productivity, may not be as much as it was beforehand, but then you also have kind of more dedicated people because they have, remote situation. I would
Right.
say generally happier.
Yeah.
For folks who are potentially looking at doing remote work or scaling a remote business, do you have any general guidance and feedback for them based on your experience this last year?
Yeah, you have to know, like, obviously I got to know these employees in person, so like I kind of understood their capabilities. But if you're hiring like VAs, which I do have one VA, and if you're hiring VAs, especially foreign VAs that aren't hip to the some of the things going on in your country or your market, um, you have to just be mindful. You have to have a way to like understand like what are they actually doing? You have a way to track sort of like progress? Like what are the KPIs, like key performance indicators of like that employee? Like what is them doing a bad job look like? What is them doing a good job look like? And you have to communicate those expectations to them and say like, hey, like, I kind of have expectations on some of my employees. Like I'm a little more lax probably than some other people, but at the same token, I try to like zoom out and I'm like, okay, this employee, I can tell they screwed around a little bit this week, right? And didn't get a ton done. But I'm like, okay, then this other week, then they hit it hard, right? And so I look at it over a 1 year time for the amount of money that I paid them total and the fact that it's a tax write-off, right? Like, am I happy with the amount of like would I have wanted to do all that work? Or would I have paid if it was in one lump chunk? Would I have paid 40 grand or whatever it is, for that year for all of that work to not be on my plate? And generally that answer is yes. And if it is, and they're doing a good job from like a macro point of view, when you like zoom out a little bit, I think if you're happy with the annual result, maybe if you're unhappy with how it's going for a month, you can get over it as long as you're happy with the total result after a year, if you kind of zoom out, I guess.
That's really, really good feedback. I've never heard. I'm going to take that one as well. This idea that, people's productivity may wane, but
Yeah.
over the long term, are you going to do the work yourself? Or are you going to pay someone in person, maybe more to do the work? Or are we satisfied with the results here? That's great feedback. Blake, we are coming up on time here. Where can folks go to get a hold of you?
Yeah, SelbyRentals.com. I started out as a rentals company, and so I still have my regular website. I should probably change the name at some point. I just haven't. Selby, that's my last name, Selby, rentals.com. That's the easiest place to go to figure out, submit your deal and get funded.
Blake, thank you so much for coming on the show here today.
Of course. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.